All right, friends, we're going to look today at page 419 in our Pearson book, and we're going to work through the guided practice together before you start working on the independent practice. You should have already watched the instructional video about rounding to the nearest 10, and so now it's time to put that into practice. Let's take a look. Number one, what number is halfway between 200 and 300? I encourage you to pause between each question and give it a try. And when you think you've got the answer, you can unpause and check it. So what number is halfway between 200 and 300? Well, I should have 250. Our 50s are that halfway point in between the two numbers. Number two, Sherry rounds to 678. What place does she round to? Let's see, I'm looking for where all the zeros are after. So I know if I'm rounding to the nearest 100, I should have a number that only has hundreds really. But this number looks like the tens place has changed and the hundreds place really stayed the same. So in this case, what did she round to? She rounded to the nearest tens place. All right, number three. Tito adds one more rock to his collection on page 418. So look back one page to find out how many rocks he has. In looking back at the previous page, it looked like Tito had 394. Okay. And it says he adds one more rock. So we're going to do first, and I'm doing one sentence at a time. It's always my strategy. Plus 1. So now Tito has 395 rocks. Okay, let's go back into the question. About, we see the word about, that tells me to do rounding. About how many rocks does he have rounded to the nearest 10? So rounding to the nearest 10, we kind of underline the tens place and look next door using that rounding roller coaster, using a number line, or just using the strategy of what I know. Well, what happens when we have a 5 next to the 9? It makes it go up to the next number. So what I get is 300, this is a 10, and this is a 0. So I really have 300 and a 100. And so to the nearest 10, it goes to 400. This does count for explaining, by the way, because I'm drawing my work and I'm showing my work. It wouldn't be okay just to write 400. What about rounded to the nearest 100? Well, let's start with 395 again. Okay. This time, if I'm rounding to the nearest 100, I'm underlining the 3 and looking at the 9. What is 39 close to? 39 is close to 40. And then everything after our box turns into a 0 and 400. It just so happens that they're the same. Okay, round these to the nearest 10. This one's easy with the number line. What 10 is it close to? It's close to this one. So for number 4, I should get 520 because it's really close to that, way closer than it is to 510. Again, rounding to the nearest 10. I'm looking at a 49. So 49 is close to 50. You're right. 732. I'm going to look at the 32. 7 and 32 is close to 30. So my answer is 730. Okay? All right, a couple more, and then you're going to be on your own. We've got number 7 here. We're rounding, though, to the nearest 100. So is it closer to 600? Is it closer to 700? It's 64. It's not more than 5 in that place, so we're going down to 600. What about 305? 305, 30. Hey, that's already a nice even round number. It's going down to 300. And then on number 9, again, still doing to the nearest 100, I have 16. 16 is closer to 20 than it is to 10, so that's going to turn to 20, and everything else is going to turn into a 0. Right? So this should be your guided practice for today, and now that you're done with this, Make sure to read below for what other problems you are supposed to do for your practice today. Thanks for following along. It's time to work hard and make sure you know how to do rounding.